So Spain and Portugal get a head start on everybody else when it comes to the conquest of the Americas. But soon other countries are going to begin to explore the Americas as well. And so Europeans from Britain and the Netherlands and France began by trying to find a northern passage through North America. And one actually exists, but only in certain times of the year. But they began to explore kind of the northern parts of North America, trying to find a water route through to Asia. They also began to fish along the coastal regions. And as they did, they would make landfall from time to time. And this begins that process of introducing Afro-Eurasian diseases. And much like in Latin America, it's going to begin to decimate native populations in North America. And so it begins small, but gradually Europe begins to play a bigger role in North America. And Europeans, like the British, are going to begin to establish settler colonies in North America. And this was made possible by the die-off of the natives. So as Afro-Eurasian diseases are introduced, it led to the decimation of Native American populations in North America, and that opened up territory for the Europeans to settle. Also, changes back in Europe that we already talked about, things like the Reformation. Well, that led to conflict, religious conflict, and so we have religious groups looking for freedom to worship the way they wanted to, and so that's going to fuel people to come over to the Americas. And then also, much like in Latin America, wealth played a big role as well. When we look at our first settler colonies in North America, it begins with Jamestown. And Jamestown was founded by a joint stock company. It was founded with a goal to make profit. And so 1607, the founding of Jamestown, it's going to become the first successful colony in North America. And there had been a couple attempts earlier that failed, but Jamestown almost failed as well. And they kind of choose a poor location for their colony. They chose a part of the river that didn't really flow well. And so mosquitoes and diseases were widespread. The winters were especially harsh. In fact, of the original 500 settlers, only 60 survived through the winter of 1609. And some even resort to eating dead humans. There's even a tale of one man who killed his own wife and ate her to survive. And so these early colonies struggled, and Jamestown wasn't the only one. The Massachusetts colonies, starting with Plymouth, they struggled, especially through the winters. But eventually they began to adapt and learn how to survive. And when we look at the settlement of these colonies in North America, they were quite a bit different from those in Latin America. Some of these colonies were founded by private investors. It wasn't overseen by the mother country's government. It was overseen by private joint stock companies. So again, Jamestown was founded by a joint stock company. Its main goal was to make profits and make money. And that's one of the things that kind of hurt them early on as well, is they were too busy trying to find ways to make money, trying to find gold and profit, rather than doing the things necessary to create a successful colony. Another key difference is, even though they were overseen by the mother countries, they had a lot more local autonomy. So beginning with Jamestown, for example, they're going to create their own local assemblies, things like the House of Burgesses, and to a lesser extent, the Mayflower Compact. They had examples of self-government. And so, yes, they were overseen by the mother country, but they also had some local autonomy and were allowed some self-rule as well. Another difference is going to be in their relations with the indigenous peoples, with the Native Americans. So for the most part, they created a separation between the Europeans and the natives. They were driven off of their lands, but they tended to keep them separated. And there wasn't as much of an effort to try to spread Christianity and try to convert the natives to Christianity. And so, especially the British colonies, they had a pretty tense relationship with the Native American population. France, on the other hand, actually had a decent relationship with the Native Americans. And that was because when France came over to North America, their main goal was to establish a fur trade. And so they set up trading posts. Instead of driving the natives off of their land and creating huge colonies, they set up trading posts and actually worked with the natives. And the natives would go out and catch animals and bring the furs in and trade for European manufactured goods. And so the French actually got along pretty well with these native populations.